Hey, I'm Derek Ryan, and I've been a trance producer for the past 10 or more years, and I've been living here in Japan for the past almost 8. And as a trance producer in Japan, I want to talk a little bit about our scene here. So this is going to be the first video of 2 in this series. One of them is going to be more about music, and the other is going to be about clubs and events that we have here. So let's focus on the music first. Just to give a little bit of history, trance was popular in Japan in the early 2000s. There was this huge movement known as Ayu trance at one point, and then cyber trance, depending on who you ask about this. And it was all over the place. Huge artists were getting like trance remixes were made. It was like the clubs were popping off everywhere. It was a really, really big deal. At the time, Avex was very, very popular for that. Ferry Corsten was releasing tunes on this Avex, this Japanese label. I mentioned Ayu trance. It was so called because Ayumi Hamasaki, a huge, huge Japanese pop artist, was releasing trance remixes and even songs with a trance vibe to them. So it was just like all over the place at that time. Since then, it's calmed down quite a bit. And what we have instead is like a lot more of a tight-knit local scene. But on the other hand, there are really some great producers that are coming out of Japan and that producing both uplifting and psy and all sorts of trance here too, that I'd love to get more eyes on in the world. And that's one of the reasons I started Ascent Recordings here. We'll talk about that later. But first off, let's jump into a few artists. So first off, you can't talk about melodic music in Japan without mentioning Shingo Nakamura. Shingo Nakamura is a bit of a local hero, although up until recently he was actually more famous abroad than he was in Japan. That's changed a little bit now. He's pretty well known here, and I think he's kind of, for a lot of us, he's kind of like a Dai Senpai, you might say. He's kind of like the guy that's really forging the way forward, and not only he's a great artist, but he's also a great guy. You might call what he's producing nowadays a little bit more on the progressive house side than trance, but he produced trance in the past, and he'll play the occasional trance set sometimes too. He's like a national treasure at this point, and he's releasing right now primarily on Monster Cat abroad, but he does release on Otographic here too. He's definitely a hero. If you're going to check out someone, he's obviously a first person to do. He's worked with BT, Matt Fax, all over the place, and he's blowing up right now, and it's well deserved. Fantastic guy, fantastic musician. Next up, N-sKing. So Naoki is a friend I've collaborated with a number of times now. We've got more stuff in the works, so stay tuned. He's been amazing of late. For the past few years, Naoki has been releasing so much music, and it's so good. He is a master of melodics and producing really hard-hitting trance. He's got tunes out on ZYX, he's got tunes out on 140, Ascent. He's like all over the place. He's really like flying the flag for what uplifting canon should be, and right now he's even experimenting a little bit and producing some progressive tunes that he's released on Ava Deep that way. I just can't wait to see what's next for him because he's been so explosive up to this point. The sky's the limit. Please give him a listen and see what you think. I think you'll fall in love. He also just released a great tune on Ascent, my label, which is called Don't Come Back to Me. It's got like a vocal you've probably heard somewhere, but he twists it in this awesome, really, really interesting manner. And I think that it comes out in a completely different way, and it really has this uplifting vibe that's hard to match. So as far as the king of uplifting, he is the guy. I don't think you can find a better artist out there. I'm really excited to see what he'll do next. And it turns out that he and the next producer collaborated on Don't Come Back to Me. And that person is UG. UG is a brilliant melodic mind. The kind of ideas that he has reference classic trance in just the right way, but also keep it modern and moving and different. And they're the right combination of complex and simple and really tug on the heartstrings. So like, I think you're going to see a lot more from UG in the next coming months. I'm really proud to say that he's from Japan, and we're just getting him started DJing too. He played his first set at the Ava Night, which Ascent co-hosted a couple months back, and that was fantastic. So next up, Kita-Kei. So Kita-Kei always has these shadowy pictures of himself online, but he's been a figure in the scene for quite a while here. He's also A&R for Rock River Records here, and he produces really, really harder trance, but it's fantastic. It's got this moving vibe to it that I really love, and he's got a unique perspective that I think really shines and shows through the music. So looking forward to more from him too. Another person, I don't know whether to call him trance or not, but Eshericks is a really, really fantastic producer as well. He's closer to breaks. In fact, most of the stuff that he makes is kind of harder breaks, but he features on a lot of trance-oriented artist compilations. Like, he has been on a number of remixes from the Seven Crew. He just did a remix for Askew, and so he's got another unique perspective, which is, I think, something that we do really well out here. And speaking of breaks, my collab project with my co-founder of Ascent, Codeswitch, is something that's hitting the charts pretty recently over here in Japan. We just did a remix of the classic Heaven Sent by Bedrock, and that went off pretty well. We were on the breaks chart for a while. while with that one. And so we are kind of also mention with Trance because we're not like down the center, but it's kind of like an interesting vibe that we're trying to make over here. Another artist we can't not mention is Rinaly. So Rina is an amazing musician, amazing person, and her sets are on fire, but also her music is really inspired in a different way. So she was a bass player and a drummer before ever being a DJ and producer, and she puts those influences in there, and you can kind of hear that she has different vibes. There was an interview we did with her where she shared that the chord progression from Astrology, one of her most famous songs, actually started from a band bass progression. And so she has her own unique perspective, fantastic techno and trance producer. And then lastly, myself. I'm not going to self-promote too much, but like I have been producing trance for a while and I enjoy doing it from here, and I want to take us all even higher. 3 labels of note coming out of Japan here that I want to mention. First off is Otographic. So Kenji Sekiguchi runs this label, and it's primarily composed of Japanese artists, and it's kind of got like a fairly locked artist roster, but really, really amazing stuff. And so they've been a staple in the scene. They throw their own parties. They have a lot of music that they've released over here. Highly suggest you check out Otographic. Second off, Ascent Recordings, Mayan Satch's label. We try to focus on finding both Japanese and international talent, and we're looking to find the most interesting sounds, the most storytelling that we can kind of get out there. Really into cosmic stuff, as you could tell by the label name. And then third, Rock River Recordings. This is the one that Kita-Kei does A&R for, and they are a fantastic uplifting label. They've been supported a lot by Ori Uplift and similar, and there's a lot of Japanese artists that come out on there that you might want to check out. Some other interesting stuff that happens only here in Japan is that there are some people that instead of releasing on traditional labels, they actually shop their music at M3, which is a music convention. It's like a Doujin circle is a kind of like fans way of distributing media. So there's Doujin games, which are very famous, and there's people that make their own comics. In this case, it's for music. And so there's some artists that operate in this area primarily. KaNa is one of those people, and she's another great producer over here that I think is worth a mention. I didn't mention her before, but I'm gonna mention her now because she has her own sort of vibe with this thing called Snow Freques. And it's really cool. She does the artwork, she does the music. It's an end-to-end production all by her, and she sells this at M3 individually to people. She works really hard for it. She's really talented and very, very much deserving of support. Another similar sort of distribution method is compilations like Wavforme. It crosses a lot of different kinds of music, but it also has a focus on trance. There's people like Tomohiko Togashi who release on that label and just make fantastic, really innovative music. That's one of the cool things about this Doujin style of releasing is it allows you to be really kind of creative in what you do. And you're not held down by a lot of label constraints. So on the one hand, obviously it's limited to Japan, it's very specific outputs for this, but on the other hand, it's wide and deep as far as what you can do sound-wise, which is a breath of fresh air. So that's just been a crash through a bunch of artists and labels that I like. This isn't comprehensive. There are definitely more labels, more artists out there to check and follow. I can't mention everyone, but that's a good kind of overview of some places to start. I think you're going to see a lot more trance and a lot more techno and a lot more electronic music coming out from Japan in the next few years, and I intend to be part of helping you get there. So we're going to be putting out a lot on Ascent and a lot of other places. Hopefully this has been fun and informative. Go listen to some trance, and I'll see you next time.